Mississippi State is not different than Ole Miss in terms of needing to add depth at the quarterback position through the transfer portal. Obviously, Will Rogers is a scholarship quarterback returning. But Mississippi State has had two players enter the transfer portal that play that position. Sawyer Robertson and Braden Locke. Now, Mississippi State had a quarterback in this recruiting class, right? Chris Parson is in this class that will arrive. Is he an early enrollee or will he be later?
He is. He is an early enrollee, so he'll be there for spring.
All right, so that's two. But one of them just stepped onto your campus. And so you'd love to maybe have another. What do you think about transfer portal for Mississippi State at quarterback? And frankly, it's a hard question to answer before you know who the offensive coordinator is going to be.
Yeah, because the right offensive coordinator might necessitate a portal quarterback to give you somebody to actually run the offense. You get a guy who wants the mobility out of his quarterback and needs it for his scheme. Then Will Rogers is not your guy for that. State is definitely going to have to find somebody. You know, Borky's talking about Mike Wright as at Ole Miss. I would make a phone call, be like, "Hey, while you're in the state, I just want to
come on down,
swing down here. We'll have a talk." Because I think that would be a guy who, you know, if he's looking at Ole Miss, he's willing just to come in and, you know, compete or whatever. But State's going to have to get a couple of guys. I mean, at least one guy for sure.
Can I stop you just for a second, like as an offshoot? We'll come back to adding to. So even if it's Kendall Briles, and even if Kendall Briles prefers a more mobile quarterback, a more physical quarterback in the run game, are you really going to set to the side a guy who has thrown for 10,000 yards in his career?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but this is one of those things that fans do that bothers me. Like, why is it okay to talk about getting better at every other position but quarterback? Like, I understand Will Rogers and what he's done and the stats he's pulled up, but if you can get a better player, if Bryce Young said, "I want to come back for another year and I want to go to Mississippi State," are you going to say no? Because Will Rogers has thrown for 10,000 yards?
We're not talking about Bryce Young.
Well, that's my point. There are better quarterbacks in America than Will Rogers.
Yes, I do not dispute that. But my point remains. You have a quarterback that is closer to 11,000 career passing yards than he is 10,000, with 82 touchdowns and 24 career interceptions. I understand that those numbers are largely a function of playing in Mike Leach's offense. I get that. But that is a massive amount of production.
It is. It's huge. But if you can improve, you have to improve. Or if you need a different style of quarterback, then what are you going to do? Just take next year off? You have to do what you have to do.
It's a harsh reality.
I've already said that. I think next
football.
next year can be a big year for Mississippi State. If they bring in an offensive coordinator who needs mobility out of the quarterback position and they just leave Rodgers in there, well, then never mind. You've missed your big year 2 cycles in a row. So we'll see what happens. They got to get somebody in there because they just need a backup. You know, State went with 2 scholarship quarterbacks in 2017, and that was, you know, it was all year long. You were just like, gosh, and that was a time when Mississippi State ran the football with the quarterback 20-plus times a game with Nick Fitzgerald, but his backup was true freshman Keaton Thompson because Damian Williams and Elijah Staley and Nick Tiano had all bolted once they didn't win the starting job. So State is going to be on the lookout for a quarterback. We'll just have to find out if it's for depth or if it's for actual competition with Will Rogers.
Yeah, there's no such thing in loyalty when millions of dollars are on the line, right? I mean, it's a wins and losses business, and if Kendall Briles is the guy and Kendall says to Zach Arnett, "Hey, KJ would come with me," your answer is yes. Has to be yes. It has to be. You can't say, "Well, coach, for the last couple of years in a different offense, this guy threw for a bunch of yards, so we're just going to stick with him." If Briles says, "This guy's a better fit, we can win more games with this guy," your answer has to be yes.
Are we sure that KJ Jefferson is a better quarterback than Will Rogers?
No. But if the people making the millions of dollars think so,
I mean, statistically, yes. I mean, not in terms of the size of the numbers, but in terms of like advanced metrics and things like that. Yeah, he's right there, and then he adds the dimension of being able to run the football.
C-Spire text line. It's not about loyalty at all. It's about winning games. That's right. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you guys. I'm just kind of provoking the conversation and asking some questions. Brandon says, let's be honest, Rodgers' numbers wouldn't have been that good if he wasn't passing 50 to 60 times a game. No, I mean, well, yes, I'm aware that if you throw it 30 times a game instead of 50 times a game, you likely don't throw for as many yards. I get that.
But you need the body regardless. I mean, even if, let's stick to the hypothetical, Will versus KJ. If you're not sure that KJ is better, but he's still going to come, you sign him. And if Will Rogers doesn't like that or is afraid of that, then he's not your guy anyway. You can't have quarterbacks afraid of competition, and you need a body in the room.
The big issue is if you bring in KJ Jefferson, right? Obviously, he's coming to start. So then Will Rogers is just going into the portal, and you're kind of back to square one. So they need to get a depth guy regardless of all this. They need another guy.